Hello to all my amazing mathematicians out there. We are working on the last lesson of the school year. Crazy stuff. I can't believe it's already the end of the year. Today we're tackling squares, which hopefully is a shape that's pretty familiar to you. This is not a brand new shape. You learned this probably back in like elementary school. This is long stuff. We're going to get a little bit more into the characteristics that are a bit more particular and throw in some algebra in there because you guys can handle it. We're good with that stuff. So let's scroll on down here. So obviously square still falls into the parallelogram family. Most of you guys know that they have all congruent sides, and hopefully remember that they have all four congruent angles. In fact, they are all 90 degrees. So go ahead and write that down. And we're gonna label that as we go. Why not? So while you're writing that down, I'm gonna start labeling. If they have all four congruent sides, that means I can put little tick marks in all of these. You should do this on yours as well. And all of these angles are 90 degrees because 360 degrees all the way around, split into four equal pieces, means each one has to be 90. So let's get those labeled. Alrighty. Looks kind of funky there, but that is how you'd label it. Next piece is that the opposite sides are parallel. So we do that by drawing the arrows in. So arrow, arrow, double arrow. Can't do singles for all of them because you can't have four parallel sides that actually meet. That wouldn't make sense. We already have that the sides are all congruent, so that's taken care of. So we're good on that one. Make sure you get that copied down. The final piece is these diagonals. Now those ones kind of throw people off a bit. They bisect each other, which means they cut each other in half, which means this and this would be the same. And then they also share the quality with rectangles, that they're congruent, which means that, oops, I should put 2 in these, by the way, which means that actually all 4 segments are going to be the same. So this cuts in half here, and this cuts in half here. And since they're equal to each other, all 4 of these tiny little segments kind of star shaping into the middle, they're all going to be equal to each other. And they're actually perpendicular. If you forgot, this means that the 2 lines cross at 90 degrees. Squares are almost like you had a rectangle and a rhombus make a baby shape. That's how you get a square. It's got all the characteristics of a rectangle, all the characteristics of a rhombus in one little baby shape. So these guys have 90 degrees, and these little angles around the edges too do as well. So technically it would look like this, but that just looks kind of silly, so we would generally only put it on one of them. But just know that all 4 of those triangles are right angles. Now something special in here that isn't tied in is the fact that these diagonals actually bisect this 90 degree. What that means is that each of these little triangles are cut in half at 90, which means this is 45 degrees. And so is this, and so is this, and so is this. Each of these triangles are actually a 45, 45, 90. So their 2 smaller angles are each 45 degrees, and all the ones in the middle are 90. So we have 4 congruent little triangles made by the square. It's a pretty cool shape. It's got a lot of cool qualities because of those special diagonal bisecting craziness things. So get those copied down. Make sure if you need to rewind or go back, you do. And then we're going to move kind of off to the side, sort of the upper left-hand corner to the section that says classify it. So we are actually going to be, oops, my bad. We are going to be classifying these. Why don't we want to work? There we go. Now we've got a couple options. We've got parallelogram, we've got quadrilateral. If nothing works, we've got trapezoid, square, rectangle, rhombus. Those are kind of our 4 options. So let's just abbreviate those. We'll put quadrilateral at the top. Trapezoid is an option. Rectangle is an option. Square and rhombus. So these are our 5, 6 options. So the first one, it's kind of a weird shape. Now I know it's not any of my special ones that I've talked about. It's not a rhombus because there's nothing parallel going on there. It's definitely not a square. Can't be a rectangle. None of the sides are equal. Okay, well, is it even a parallelogram? parallelograms have to have two sets of equal sides that are parallel, hence the name parallelogram. There are no parallel lines anywhere, so it can't be a parallelogram. So we're down to either quadrilateral or trapezoid. Well, what is a trapezoid? That's the one that kind of looks like this guy usually. You do have to have one set of parallel lines. Since this has none, it is a quadrilateral, which means basically it's a four-sided figure, and that's all we can say about it. There's nothing else special about it. Now this next one down here, yes, it looks like they're 90 degrees. So let's check. This little symbol means that they're 90, so we're good. That means the other ones are going to end up being 90 degrees as well. We've got four equal sides, okay? So let's see. Hang on. I gotta check my key. This is what happens when you do this randomly. So this one actually says let's name all the classifications. So first of all, let's go back up to the top. Is it a quadrilateral? Does it have four equal sides? Yes, it does. Some of the quadrilateral. Is it a parallelogram? Well, if this is 90, then this guy would have to be 90. Let's see. Actually, I don't know if we can call it that. We do know, since it's got all four congruent sides, what's the shape that doesn't necessarily have 90 degrees but does have four congruent sides? Well, that's a rhombus. I'm going to say that. Could be a square. Could be a parallelogram. There's lots of different options for this one. And I'm kind of iffy on that one, to be honest. Kind of iffy on all of these because if you notice, the shape doesn't actually have parallel symbols in here. So it could be some of those things, but we would need a little bit more information to make sure that it is. And technically you could throw a rectangle in there. Squares are technically rectangles. They're just a special type of rectangle. So we'll put a little question mark with that one. That's kind of a funky one. Not really a huge fan of that one because we got so many question marks, but we're going to throw that one in there. All right, down here, we've got some arrows now. Good, we've got some parallel sides. That's what we wanted to see. So it's definitely a quadrilateral. It's a four-sided figure. It's got two sets of parallel sides, so that falls into the parallelogram category. Now, let's check through our list. We're not going to use trapezoid because there's more than one set. Is it a rectangle? Does it have 90 degrees all the way on the inside? I don't see anything that says 90, so I'm not going to use rectangle. Square. Square has to have all four equal sides. Done. Does it have four equal angles? No, we don't have right angles again, so we're going to cut that one out. Does it have the rhombus qualities? Well, rhombus needed four equal sides and parallel lines. Looks like we're pretty good with that so far, so I'm going to include the rhombus in there. Okay. So now we're going to skip down to the bottom left-hand corner, this guy. What's the most specific classification for each? So, is it a quadrilateral? Yes. It's got four sides. Is it a parallelogram? Yes, it's got two sets of opposite sides. All right, so it's not a trapezoid. Can we say it's a rectangle? Well, no, there's no right angles, so rectangle and square are out. So that leaves us with either parallelogram or rhombus. Well, do we know anything about the sides besides the fact that they're parallel? No, so we're just going to call it a parallelogram. That's the best we can say with the information given. We can't really say more than that. Take a look at the one down here. We've got one set of parallel sides. Hopefully that's tripping a buzzer in your brain that it's got to be a trapezoid. Okay, moving on to a couple extra problems. These are ones we did in class together to get a little bit of algebra thrown in here. It says, given that the parallelogram is a square, solve for x and y. So let's start with x. Okay, we know it's a square first of all. We've got x, 2x minus 3 on this side and x plus 5 on this side. Well, what do we know about the sides of a square? Well, we know that they're all congruent sides. Congruent means equal. That means this has to be equal all the way around. If things are congruent, set them equal to each other. So 2x minus 3 equals x plus 5. Now it's just basic algebra from here. So I'm just going to zoom through this section. We get x equals 8. That one wasn't too bad. Now we're solving for y. So we've got this 2y minus 5 in this little tiny corner. We know that the whole thing is 90. Hopefully we know that because we talked about that in the lesson. Do you remember what we talked about with the diagonals? They bisect those 90 degrees, which means each one of these tiny little corners are 45 degrees. If that's true, then 2y minus 5, whatever I plug in for y, has to make this equal 45 degrees. Well, if I set 2y minus 5 equal to 45, I can pretty quickly solve that. Add 5 to both sides. Divide by 2. And I get that y is equal to 25. If I was to plug 25 in here, I would definitely get my 45 degrees, which is exactly what I want because this is all 45, 45, and then there's these 90s in the middle. The other example we did is this guy. Now there's nothing there except for this 6. So there's a lot of stuff we got to figure out. So let's deal with that 6 first. If I know that this length is 6, okay, well, I know the diagonals bisect each other, so that means that this is 6. I know the diagonals are congruent, so all of these are 6 actually, because it's a square. I don't know the outside yet. I'm going to deal with that in just a little bit, so let's get some angles in here. I know that these are all 90, so I'm going to put a little box in there, just like my original picture I did. Let's take a look at that. We know that the sides are all equal. We know this is a 90. We got these all labeled. Okay, what are all of the tiny angles? If you think back to the problem we just did, these are all 45 degrees. So I can label all of those as being congruent. And I know it gets a little sloppy and crazy in here. They're all 45 degrees. And if you want to go around and label all of them, that's fine. I just don't really feel like doing that. Put the other 90 there just so I remember. Okay. So I've got all the diagonals labeled, I've got all the angles labeled, now I just got these sides to deal with, okay? Well, there's more than one way you could tackle this. In fact, I'd love for you to pause right here and see if you can figure out any of these sides on your own. Use these triangles, you've got a right triangle, so there's lots of things you could do here. You could use trig, you could use Pythagorean theorem, there's a lot of stuff going on here. So I'm going to use Pythagorean theorem. So let's bold in this triangle. I'm going to use this little guy. So let's drag him over here. Got a right angle here. I know that this is 6 and this is 6, and I'm looking for this side. Well, I know Pythagorean theorem says a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A squared is 6, b squared is 6. C squared is x. I'm just going to keep it as c. So I have 36 plus 36. Add those together, I get 72. Square root both sides. Calculate out. Square root of 72 is approximately 8.49 units. So that is how long this side is. I'm going to round it up to 8.5 just to be nice. Now, what do I know about all the sides of a square? They're all congruent. So if this is 8.5, so is this, so is this, so is this. Aren't squares awesome? They're like the best shape ever. They're so easy to deal with. Feel free to rewind if you need to. I know I kind of zoomed through a couple of those real quick, but hopefully you got the gist of it. We're going to have a quiz on all of the parallelograms on Wednesday, May 31st. So we'll review on Tuesday when we come back, take the quiz Wednesday. So feel free to ask for help or get some of those practice problems helped with in class or outside of class if you need to.